Mayan and Aztec civilizations. Wherever agriculture developed, it helped to feed more people, and populations began to grow. Growing settlements needed rules for living together and making decisions that affected everyone. Eventually, something called civilizations developed. In civilizations, there are organized systems of government, religion, and learning. Central America was home to advanced civilizations, including the Maya and later the Aztec. The Maya rose about 3,500 years ago. They developed a writing system, made a very accurate calendar, charted movements of the moon and stars, and created a system for advanced math. Yet Mayan civilization faded by about the year 900. Aztec civilization began to thrive throughout southern Mexico and Central America. The Aztec built their main city center in what is today Mexico City. It was called Tenochtitlan. Hundreds of thousands of people lived there at one point. The Aztec modified their environment in order to live in it. Beds were made out of reeds, tall grasses that grow in lakes. They built floating gardens to grow their crops on the shores of lakes outside the dry land of Tenochtitlan. 3. Reading check. Describe to a partner how the picture of the Aztec floating gardens shows people modifying the environment. Other North American groups. Other Indian cultures emerged in North America thousands of years ago. These included the Inuit, the Mound Builders, and the Ancestral Puebloans. They lived in very different climates and had a variety of resources available to them. The Inuit live in the far northern part of North America, where it is frozen much of the year. They had to adapt to a harsh environment where there are few plants and land animals. The Inuit relied on the sea for whales, seals, and other sea animals. They developed and used the kayak, a small canoe that is watertight, to fish in the sea. Homes were built out of blocks of snow. About 3,000 years ago, the Mound Builders developed a civilization that started around the Ohio River. They had resources such as trees and earth for building. They built large mounds made of earth. Some scientists believe that the mounds were used for religious ceremonies or as graves. By digging in the mounds, they know that the Mound Builders traded with other groups because they found materials that are not available in the environment where the mounds were built. The Ancestral Puebloans first appeared about 2,000 years ago. They lived in the desert southwest that includes the present-day states of Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, and Utah. The Puebloans lived in a dry environment, but they were successful farmers because they used irrigation. They dug canals to bring water to fields of crops such as corn, beans, and squash. The cliff dwellings that the Ancestral Puebloans left behind are an example of their great skill in building and modifying the environment. They built homes inside cliffs to stay cool in the hot climate and to get shelter from the sun. The Puebloans left their cliff dwellings in about the year 1300 and did not return. After this period, the Navajo and other people migrated to the southwest. When they discovered the cliff dwellings, they called these ancient people by the Navajo word Anasazi. Quest connections. Highlight words that describe the foods available to early peoples. Adapting to the environment. These North American groups, and later American Indian nations, such as the Iroquois, Huron, Cherokee, Navajo, Creek, Hopi, Algonquin, and Lakota Sioux, adapted to their environment. Many modified it as needed to survive and to support their ways of life. Primary source. Snowshoes like these helped the Algonquin Indians travel and hunt in the northern woodlands area. California Indians used fire to burn shrubs and grasslands. When they cleared the land, they could better hunt animals such as deer. They would use the deer for food and use the skins for shelter and clothing. They used the antlers for tools. Woodland peoples used deer in the same way. They used wood from forests to build their homes, canoes for travel and fishing, and tools and utensils. A group called the Calusa lived on the Florida coast and used shells as a resource. They even built an island made of shells. California Indians also had shells available to them in some coastal areas. Groups like the Chumash used seashells to make many items, including jewelry, tools, and decorations for clothing. 4. Reading check. Compare and contrast. Download and print the chart to compare and contrast how two different groups of American Indians use the same resource.